there was a moment where I sort of just gave up, where I was like, oh, I give up, I can't do this.
And you're on such an amazing team on that show.
Yeah. That's right. That's all possible because the other actors.
Because they were there, and
because the camera operators
was so
are
present.
so fluid. I mean, it's sort of like, I think you worked on Rachel Getting Married, and you guys shot like 90-minute takes or something, right?
Radical listening.
Yeah. That's kind of the way we work on this show, always.
Wow.
But it's a dream.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey.
Sorry. In case you're watching this at home or on your phone, on the subway or any place, we're meant to call each other and all actors by full names. So, hello, Jeremy Strong.
Anne Hathaway.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. I was thinking, we know each other, and we've worked together twice. But we've never sat down and like talked about work or talked about acting.
I know, and every time we have, the room's had a lot of other furniture in it.
Right.
So.
Preparing for this, I went back and watched a lot of your body of work.
Oh, I'm just trying to imagine you watching The Princess Diaries.
I didn't rewatch The Princess Diaries.
Rewatch, you are good.
But I'm so honored to be doing this with you. I think we both feel the virtues of commitment and courage are ones to be aspired to, and I feel like I see your work and just blown away by the versatility of it, but also the courageousness and the investment.
Thank you. I'm a little speechless, but the thing that I've noticed as our friendship has deepened, and one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to know you, and also I'm so grateful that we're, pals. It's so wonderful, without having to talk about the creative process, because it can feel very intimate, to just know that you do it with your whole soul, that you do it with everything that you have. And having gotten to spend a lot of time with you, I know how extraordinary your brain is. And the way that you're able to, like our co-star Anthony Hopkins, recall quotes and verse seemingly effortlessly. And I just think it's so exciting, this moment, because, it's really happening for you. Like, you're really being revealed as one of our great actors. And I guess my first question is, because I think there's going to be a lot of actors watching this and they're going to want to know, what did you tell yourself during those years when you were building it and it felt like you were taking smaller steps before you've had this beautiful cosmic explosion?
It's such a great question. It's sort of the central question, right? What keeps us going, sort of despite any lack of evidence that we'll have the chances to do the work that we want to do. I don't know the answer, really. I think it was just the need to do this, and the feeling that it's something worth devoting one's life to. I don't know about you, but I'm constantly in awe of what actors do, of other actors. I was in awe of what you did in We Crashed as Rebecca.
There's nothing to revamp, Damien. We have 600 followers, okay? No, we need to think bigger. We need to reach a wider audience.
The great desire to make a contribution to the work that has moved me, and I don't know if it was apocryphal, if you really were the 9th choice for Devil Wears Prada, but like going and interning in an auction house, and that 9th choice feeling, whether or not it is the case, it's a great engine, that feeling. I read you say something once about Vivian Leigh and how she would crawl over broken glass if she thought, Kazan said this about her, if she thought it would serve a moment or serve the scene. So I feel like each of us have that trait as people, as actors. This character, this show is such a gift. It's like the mountain I've always wanted to climb.
We were shooting together when you found out that you'd gotten cast, or had you gotten cast just before?
Oh, right, on Serenity.
Yeah.
I think I had done the pilot, and I think I found out that we were going to make the show.
You are known for your immersive process, and I remember going, kind of seeing you while we were in the beautiful island of Mauritius, kind of just walking around so deep in character, and a kind of wave. And I remember one time kind of sidling up to you and saying, listen, I completely respect what you're doing, but I also want to be a human. So I'm going to let you do you. I'm going to nod and just know, wide open, if you ever just want to talk or do anything. And you just kind of nodded because you were deep in your character. And then a few weeks later, I just remember you just kind of appearing next to me, and you said, "I think I need to come up for air." And I said, "Want to come over for dinner?" And you said, "Yes, please." And you came
That
over
was
for
great.
dinner, and we spent and it was so fun. You, me, Adam, our son was asleep, and we talked about life, and we spent time together. And you remembered what we drank that night.
Oh yeah, we drank Penny Blue
That's
rum.
it. A lot of it.
A lot of it.
A lot
Yeah.
of Penny Blue rum. And you told me about Succession.
I tried, but I thought that I could change things. But I'm not as... There's things you're able to do that I can't.
I'm, a huge fan of the show, and you know I'm a huge fan of your work. And I'm still a little annoyed that you did not wrap your Emmys acceptance speech as I encouraged you to. But I think the world could have used that moment. But maybe there will be more opportunities. But it's a show that is seemingly about one thing, but it's actually a show about the legacy of abuse.
Yeah.
First of all, how do you chart a character over multiple seasons when you don't exactly know what's coming? Do you just kind of throw yourself against the wall? Do you crawl across broken glass? Like, how does it, now that you've done it 3 times,
Yeah.
how does it work?
Honestly, I don't want to ascribe too much ownership over that. I think a performance is not a monolith. It's a
Thank
thousand.
you. Thank you, yes.
It's 1,000 imperfect attempts at a scene or a moment, and I find personally that I feel sort of always on the frontier of uncertainty and confusion, and from that place making attempts at, based on your intuition. In terms of charting it, I feel very fortunate to be working with material. Jesse Armstrong and the writers are so brilliant and have such a sort of incisive, forensic understanding of psychiatry, of sort of interiority. So a lot of that needle is threaded for you, and like very powerful magnets just sort of pulls out of you what it needs to. And you, and this is the hardest part, as you know, have to make yourself available to that and be a vessel for it. So I feel like I've been sort of coursed through these Class 5 whitewater rapids for a few seasons, and I love it, and it is heavy. The weight of it is heavy. Just trying to meet the demands of it and trying to embody what the character's struggle is. For me, in this last season, there was a lot of imagining a golden light, and there's this sense of needing to, for Kendall, there's a sort of airborne quality to this last season of this almost manic need to stay above the pain.
Yes.
And incredibly, the writing's incredible line, "I'm blown into a million pieces," which, the whole work for me, I think, as I see it, is to earn the right to say those words.
Come on.
It's fucking lonely.
Hey.
I'm all apart.
It is about the legacy of abuse. I remember Jesse and Adam McKay, the first thing they talked to me about was Festin, the Vinterberg movie, which is in the substrate of the show, trauma and abuse, but also what we work on, both of these things are about sort of late stage capitalism. We live in this time where I think I read somewhere that the richest 3 Americans have more money than 160 million of the poorest fellow countrymen. And so these people that we are inhabiting exist in that rarefied world. And so the terrain is really similar, actually. I feel, watching your work, to me, this is sort of the perfect representation of what you can do, which is, with great precision, do like a triple reverse somersault from the high dive, and then moments after, like a complete deep sea dive and touch the bottom. So for me, when you have that scene, which is amazing, around the oak, a golden chain, and you go into that Russian accent. But then the moment in the stairway afterwards, it's an incredible moment.
I think that one of the main ways I'm different as an actor than the way I started was I have learned how to shake off a bad take. My whole existence as an actor is not defined by a good take or a bad take anymore. And so I have gotten comfortable with, okay, that was terrible. Let's see, let's learn something from it and try to find something else.
You know, personally, the permission to suck, like the permission to
To make a loud wrong
f-
choice.
to sort of fail
Yeah.
boldly and find that thin ice to be on, is sort of the best thing you can give yourself as an actor.
I think so much of that precision that you're talking about has to do with the team that I was on and the way that I was able to make hyper-specific choices because of the excellence of everyone.
Right.
Really. And then
Right.
that specific moment that you're talking about, it's got a history to it. So, and it begins in a sad place, so everybody, but my very first job was on a TV show called Get Real. And it was my senior year of high school. And I was away from home. I was shooting in Los Angeles. And I was just dealing with a lot of feelings that I didn't.
How old were you?
I was 16 when it started, and I turned 17 while we were doing it. There were just a lot of feelings that I had that I didn't really understand. And every morning I would get my makeup done, which felt very, very strange because I was very young, and it would kind of change the way my face looked, which felt very weird. And I would go into my little three-banger with Eric Christian Olsen on one side and Jesse Eisenberg on the other side. And I would have to like go to set and I'd feel really nervous and I would start to cry, but I would know that I couldn't cry my makeup off. So I would take a tissue and I would fold it in half and I would cry into the tissue. I just remember thinking to myself, this would be great to see on camera. And I have tried to get that moment into a film on several occasions, and it never, and everybody always just kind of looked at me like
Wow.
I had three heads when I would suggest it. And this is what I mean about
Wow.
the way I was invited into the process. And I described it to Drew and Lee. And I don't know if they totally got what I was talking about, but they trusted me. And so I said, I would like us to shoot it in such a way, please, where there's an outward-facing part, because these are, of course, glass-walled offices, and it's an open floor plan, an open cubicle, and all of those things where she has to have a public face, and she turns around, and she has to cry without crying off her makeup, which is something that I think a lot of women understand. And I just had a feeling that it would look really strong on camera to watch the tears just kind of like saturate the tissue but not fall.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing moment.
Good, I'm
it's amazing
glad,
that
I'm
you're able
glad.
to just summon that as well. I mean,
What do you mean?
that you can access, that you could access that. I think that's a gift.
That I'm a crybaby?
That's a gift.
It's
No,
amazing
you know
I'm a
what? When we were in
crybaby.
Mauritius on the Steve Knight movie, I had just started working on the show, and I had read something really struck me and has sort of become something that I think about all the time. And I've tried to put into the work on Succession, and I think I try and put into everything now, which is something that Jung said, that only that which is really ourselves has the power to heal. And so maybe there's something about the fact that that moment came from, you know, the ground of your being. That is why it is so
yeah.
deeply.
It's a funny thing because I remember when I was younger, an actor saying, you can only ever really play yourself. And I thought, I don't know that I fully agree with that. I mean, whatever works for you, but I'm trying to play as many different characters as I can.
Yeah,
I'd like to
same.
apply as much as imagination to it, but it is interesting. And I don't necessarily work this way anymore, but in the beginning part of my career, I did connect to my characters through trauma. Like I would kind of search out parts in myself where I was broken and parts where they were broken, and I would try to like kind of find my way into them
Yeah.
through that way. So I think I was like in the beginning, I think I was using it as kind of like an acting out of certain things that I wanted to understand better.
You said it was all for me.
And it is.
I don't need it.
Do you find that you have a shape to the performance that you try to adhere to, or is it
No.
something where like the wind hits and I'm off in a different place?
I think my only goal at this point is to be as free as possible. Here I go. I'm gonna not censor myself and quote something.
But this is one of your gifts.
But
This is
there-
why I brought it up, because it's amazing.
There's
I
a-
can't remember what day it is.
There's an amazing book about painting that I read last year about Edward Munch, and they say in this book, painting must not merely reconstruct a moment. It must itself be a moment.
Oh, good one.
It must not exist beforehand, but come into being in the moment it is expressed.
That's the aim.
And I think that's the aim.
Yes.
So in a sense, every time somebody calls action, and I don't like it when they call action, I like it
Oh, I
sort
love
of
it.
when it's just
I so
on
love an
and you
action.
kind of just take your own cue. But you sort of blindly follow, as you say, a sense of truth, and really, I think, rigorously do that, and then you discover what it is, and it reveals itself to you. But I don't ever prescribe a shape or know where I'm going. I think if you prepare enough and have internalized enough, then you kind of just,
Yes.
you know.
I'm
go.
so happy you brought up preparation because when we worked together in Armageddon Time, your character was a
Plumber.
plumber, and you went to learn how to fix a
Plumb.
refrigerator and plumb, and you went there, and it was a humbling moment for me as an actor to realize that you have more children than I do. And
I was at a
this deep-
reading. I was at a reading the other day, and I was like, "Is that guy the voice of Daddy Pig and Peppa Pig?" Wow. Sorry.
he?
I maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So with Kendall, was there something that you really went deep on and nerded out that kind of put the character in perspective for you or made him come alive for you? Because I was blown away that you had such an arsenal of knowledge about Irving in our movie, and I was curious about your level of preparation in all your other projects, specifically Succession.
I think with each time you're sort of starting from nothing, right? I think it tells you how to work on it, and you sort of follow the line of your intuition. I felt like there was a lot of skills and some stuff that I wanted to understand viscerally for our movie. Also voice. You know, I always imagined that my heroes are all sort of chameleonic actors. I always imagined I would be a character actor and sort of travel great distances to create a character. There's a Stevie Smith poem called Not Waving But Drowning. And the idea is, that it's sort of imperceptible which one it is. And I think that that's true of both of our characters, actually.
Yes, I agree.
It's one of the things I find so poignant about her. You can't help but care about this person.
I do.
And you give such care and respect to who she is. You know, very clearly your empathy for her, the way that she is a student of life, but also, I mean, part of our job is to create a character who can say, does it have a key? In the way that you said, does it have a key?
But that's part of a world.
Right.
And and I feel very, very lucky in many ways to have been born in a world that's different than the one that I've earned my way into, because I feel that it kind of lets me have a perspective on it and see where I stop and where it begins. And I found that helpful in this story because your character in Succession, my character in We Crash, they line up in a very specific way, but yours is inspired by someone. And I was playing someone very, very real.
Right.
And so there was a component to it where I had to sit there every single day and check in and just be like, you are playing a real person.
Right, she's gonna watch this.
Be fair,
Yeah.
be honest. But there was a book that I read, because I read a lot.
You read
prepare
books
for her
that
too.
Rebecca had read.
I read books
right?
that Rebecca had read, and I also read a
Or
lot of books
in
around
that sort of
around what it's like to
positivity
grow up
and-
wealthy.
Right.
You know, just the sort of things that you would take for granted that you wouldn't be able to see because it's, you know, I don't know, it's everywhere. It's the water that you swim in. And I did a lot of research and I spoke to a lot of people that had spent a lot of time with a woman that I was playing, and I heard the same thing again and again, which was, she's so sweet. And that was for me such an important aspect to playing her. Because I was thinking about it, you know, you mentioned in terms of monk of color, but I was also I think about negative space a lot. And I think that it's so important when you find the balance of someone because, you know, we've all grown up on fairy tales. We have young children, we're spending a lot of time in them, but we all know that reality is so much more complicated and that villains are never convenient. There's usually something we love about them. And we're also living through an interesting time where we're going back and we're reconsidering what we think about villains, period.
Yeah.
And it seems like the best way forward is empathy. And so one of the books that I read, I came across this phrase which said, judge all persons favorably. And what that means is, don't not see the thing that they're doing. There's no BS to that approach. You see someone, maybe they come in and they're like screaming their head off and they're acting in a ridiculous way. And in that moment, you can either say, how could that person act like that? Or you could say, what would make someone act like that?
Right.
And you can either supply a generous reason, or you can go up to the person and ask them if they're all right. And I found that was the only approach I could take to playing this part. It was a new level of compassionate curiosity
That's great.
about what would make someone who is defined as sweet by one person, but who's also defined very differently by other people. What's going on behind there? And you mentioned trauma, and I do think that, you know, if there's one thing that we're learning in this world is that everybody's carrying around something.
Yeah.
And, you know, and take a look at the Roys. I mean, money doesn't protect one from trauma.
No, that's right. I mean, it is both sort of heavy as the head that wears the crown, but it's also this idea that having the external, having the trappings of power, being raised with that kind of power doesn't mean that that sense of power was installed in you internally in a real way. And that's a kind of burden. So it's very easy to sort of put labels on people or to make judgment. And one of the things I love about being an actor is you get to sort of slide around that. You have to slide around that because your only job is to have compassionate curiosity and try and empathically understand what this person's struggle is and what it's like to walk a mile in their shoes.
One of the things that I was thinking about Kendall and Rebecca is they're both idealists.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about, I mean, I don't want to, you know, step outside my lane and label an entire generation, but it seemed to be this moment when idealism and capitalism were so woven together, and there really was this very real belief that you could save the world with money. And we're seeing evidence that that might not be true. And so I'm just wondering if you wanted to speak at all about the idealism of Kendall and why he keeps tripping over it.
Well, I mean, I think certainly in this last season, there's a sort of messianic quality that I have.
That kid. I was drunk. I was fucked up, but I drove. And he saw something and he snatched at the wheel. And we went into the water. And then I left him in there and ran.
We're in this dirt parking lot in the final episode. And to me, that was sort of, it was one of the greatest pieces of writing I've ever been given. And so that, you know, sort of how heavily that weighs on you as an actor.
Yeah.
That's when it all sort of imploded. And I'm 43, and The Inferno is sort of about someone in the middle of their life lost in a wood, having lost the right way in life. And so I think that reckoning of I've lost my way was a very powerful thing to kind of work with and try and puzzle through.
I couldn't breathe during that scene. I could not, I was completely held, and I know a little bit about what went into the making of it.
I'd sort of totally blown it, really. I had asked the production designer to build this plinth. I had an idea that I would sit there, and ideas are never a good thing. And we did sometimes. We did like 9 or 10 takes.
But I agree. Sometimes when I have ideas, I should just, they're instantly revealed as an unnecessary detour.
And I was trying to make it work, and something about the chemistry between us just wasn't happening. And often with a scene like that, it's sort of whatever's going to come is going to come sort of immediately or not at all. And I don't really believe you can go looking for it. There was a moment where I sort of just gave up, where I was like, oh, I give up, I can't do this.
And you're on such an amazing team on that show.
Yeah, I am. That's right. That's all possible because the other actors.
Because they were there, and
because the camera operators
was
are
present.
so fluid. I mean, it's sort of like, I think you worked on Rachel Getting Married, and you guys shot like 90-minute takes or something, right?
Radical listening.
Yeah. That's kind of the way we work on this show, always.
Wow.
But it's a dream.
Jeremy, we've run out of time to speak in this room in which we have the only chairs. Would you like to go to another room where there's more furniture?
That sounds great.
This was so lovely.
Yeah, I'm glad we did this.